Hi, Tessa. I'm going to try to answer these questions on the fly. You know, I'm doing 5 cities in 1 month. I'm so busy. But your first question, what inspired me to work in the field? Well, children, starvation, homelessness as a child. It really wasn't an option. It was a requirement in the just the whole genocide of Indigenous peoples in the country. It just simply, there was nothing else to do except to move your grief into compassion and into social change. So I don't think I picked it, I think it picked me. And I think that was an intergenerational pick. It was decided long before I came here. I mean, as long as I can remember, I was trying to save the lives of children, my own personal family or just children out there. So most of my work revolves around how do we help the children that grow up through complex trauma. What has been the experience as what's my experience as a woman in the field? Wow. Well, if I cared about that, I'd be in very big trouble because it's been grueling. Especially being one of the first people in the country to talk about the epidemic of child sexual abuse. You know, I've had everything from people trying to kill me to having my home invaded numbers of times, to having my house egged, having my computer stolen. I've had, and the constant barrage of being, cyberbullied. So my experience as a woman has been, get yourself a set of balls, you're going to need them. And I totally just keep focused on what the focus is, which is about the lives of children, and just kind of really, really ignore that. And, sometimes it's been so bad that parts of my family had to move from their homes because the attacks have been so great over, I'm 65, I'm almost 66. When 40 years ago, it was a very dangerous thing to be working in the field I'm working in. It's not like that now. Finally, I think we've, we can at least say our stories out loud and be clear about them and work towards justice and social change. So my experience as a woman has shifted year by year, and now as an elder woman, it shifts yet again. So as an elder woman, I expect to be respected and I don't really care if I'm heard or not, but at least to be able to speak what I want to speak and hope for the changes that I hope to see in my lifetime. I don't know that I will, but I've seen a little, but not nearly as much as we need. What are some of the challenges you've faced? I've been a very privileged Indigenous woman with white skin. My father's Aboriginal, my mother's white. I've been a very privileged woman. I can't say I cared much about, I never thought about the challenges. I just looked at what the goals were, looked at what, and I suppose I've had tremendous challenges, but as the daughter of a pedophile, probably had a lot of challenges, but I really never gave that much attention, and I feel that's something to do with being Indigenous, that, we haven't had the same luxuries that a lot of Western non-Indigenous peoples had. We haven't had the luxury of being too concerned about our challenges because they are just so huge. So I ignore the challenges and just focus on what the work ahead of me is, and to just try to do it with love and peace and happiness and clarity and firmness and absolute, and of course it's been easy for me in some ways because I have always been able to lean into land. So I never felt so broken that I didn't have parents, or that my father was a pedophile, or that, that I was homeless and starving, or, I think I always had the water, I had the trees. And again, there's where culture saves your life, right? So as a woman, leaning into land, and as a child who always leaned into land, the sun was there for me. The sun and the water and the trees. So I feel blessed as a woman. I feel blessed, and fuck the challenges. That's all I can say. What do you see in the field? What do I see in my field going into the future is extremely hopeful. I just came back from the Highway of Tears, and it's like our fourth, I think, Aboriginal Focusing Oriented Therapy program. That class in Smithers right now is gender balanced, and those Wet'suwet'en peoples mean to really change that Highway of Tears. And the Gitxsan, wherever I go, when I'm up in Moose Factory in James Bay, they keep taking over an Indigenous perspective in mental health, and they are finding amazing ways of working with collective intergenerational trauma. So, which are very different. It's a very different lens, the way we look at complex trauma. So I'm happy to say that we're putting a dent into it, all the way from Manhattan, New York, where I'm going to be tomorrow, to Duluth, Minneapolis, to James Bay, and all the wonderful, wonderful villages and communities that are all within that bay, and in all over BC, northern BC. And actually, there are a lot of cities, there are a lot of places AFOD goes, and so the future is bright for Indigenous peoples to take over their health and their mental health, and to connect with all that they know, because they are the experts on how to move through genocide. They are the experts. There's no other experts than the Indigenous peoples that have walked that walk. And they know their way home. Believe me, they know their way home. So the future's amazing. Amazing! I can't believe I get to say that. What's the value of a female perspective in your field? Well, as an Indigenous woman, women are matriarchs. We are the caretakers of the water. We are a very strong voice across this country. What is the value? Well, it's such a strange word, because for millennium, Indigenous women have been valued and respected and looked up to, and so I think it's a very different. Women in the Indigenous world are powerful. We're a powerful force. So I think we're extremely valuable, and we bring our babies forward. Like we are the future. Without us, there's nothing. There's nothing without us. Happy International Women's Day to everybody out there. Miigwech.